Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Keep in mind that everything I say is completely speculative based on very little information. Let's watch.
My voice sounds a little bit better, huh?
Yeah.
Brought me over here sick as a damn dog.
I brought you here.
Yeah, you damn sure did.
Did you tell me before you arrived?
Nope. If I'd have told you, we probably wouldn't have been sitting here. Your bad behavior, honey, brought me here. Don't play with my feelings. Because I don't get upset like most people. I really get off balance. Like your car, the way I acted.
Yeah, so this can be deceptive when abusive people will actually acknowledge that there's something abnormal with their behavior. They don't always do this, but sometimes they will. And if they do, they will often frame it like this, that, I'm not like other people. I'm passionate. I'm going to tell you how it is, that kind of thing. They won't say, I'm not like other people, I have issues, and you're not to blame for that. It's my fault that I do that to you. Abusive people, if they're not recovered yet, will not say things like that. They'll say things like what she's saying. Let's rewind.
Brought me here. Don't play with my feelings. Because I don't get upset like most people. I really get off balance. Like your car, the way I acted.
She didn't have touched my car at all. The other night,
So Michael seems to, in this car ride, I've been showing all the clips, he seems to be still upset, which would make total sense, and he's passively jabbing at her things here. It's like, you shouldn't have touched my car at all. So that's I guess a good sign in a sense, because it means he's still retaining the rationality of it and his own rights. So, but he might be thinking, well, I'm going to passively say things to her, but she's not going to react well, so I'll give up. But I'm still going to internally hold on to that. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Angela surprised me at my house. She tear up my car. I'm not sure how much damage she really did. And I'm worried because it's my baby.
I didn't do nothing but rip the plastic in the tires, please.
Doesn't matter. I need to be sure everything is okay.
Oh, my God.
So I think he's passively, well, half passively, half actively trying to communicate to her that she shouldn't do that, and he's trying to get her to agree, don't do that again. We understand that you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to destroy my car when you have thoughts that I might be cheating on you.
I took down my Instagram because of Angie, so now I think it's fair for her to do something for me. So we are heading to the mechanic to get my car fixed.
All right, where's the mechanic?
Interesting. So he's saying, you were abusive, so you have to fix my car. Okay. But is this just more complacency around the abuse? Because what I would recommend, that she admit that what she did was wrong, in addition to a lot of other things, but at the very least this instance, that she was wrong to tear apart his car. Even if he was cheating, it's just not a functional, mature way to deal with things. But he wasn't cheating. There was no indication that he was cheating. There's never been an indication that he's cheating. And the one time he cheated, maybe there was twice, there was no indication of it. He told her. I think that was years ago, right? So I would hope that that's communicated. But of course, do we think that Angela's going to hear that? No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Because I ripped this off. No, listen, I tore it off.
Okay. Did you have accident before?
No, I was the accident.
She removed it.
Okay, pull it away.
Yeah, he was really mean to me.
Wow.
Yeah, fighting.
Wow. Sorry.
If you paid attention to me like you did this car and kept me maintenance, we wouldn't have no damn problems.
I'm happy that Angela and I made up, but at the same time, I'm a little bit worried because we still have the communication issue. She won't listen to me. Maybe she will listen to a professional.
Yeah, we've seen this on the show before, and we see it in life. This is what we call triangulation. There's a conflict between Michael and Angela, and instead of them being able to work it out directly between the two of them, a third party is invited in, is triangulated in. And Michael is pulling in a professional, as he puts it, to help hoping that Angela will change and realize that she's wrong and listen to Michael, which I cannot imagine that going well.
Angie, have you thought about marriage counseling?
Are you out your mind? Oh, hell no. Like, I don't need nobody to tell me how to handle my man.
Interesting. So the professional, I thought he was talking about the mechanic being the professional, but he's talking about marriage counseling. Yeah, absolutely. That's great that he's suggesting it. And then she immediately says, oh, hell no, I don't need no one telling me how I can treat my man. I think because she knows that a therapist will not look kindly on her behavior. I don't know if she would think it's abusive, but I think so when you're on a campaign to isolate the victim so that you can have more control over them, having a therapist involved is extremely threatening to that campaign, right? Way more threatening than having a woman's phone number in his phone of a friend from years past. A therapist has power over her, and not really, but kind of in terms of their conceptualization or suggestions or something. It would give Michael so much power for that to happen, and I think that will absolutely not be acceptable to Angela.
You said we are close to getting the visa, but now you're going to go back to the States, so it's going to be a problem, the distance.
Not if you don't make...
Okay, so I said this a long time ago, and even in previous seasons, that when we look at this relationship, we're just like, why is Michael in it? And one of the possibilities is that Michael knows through experience that when they're in person together, Angela doesn't really get triggered, not nearly as much or not nearly as bad. There's some evidence of that. And that when they separate, they're not together, and Angela doesn't have that passive observation of him reassuring her that he is not cheating on her. When she doesn't have that, then she becomes triggered, and she gets the way she's been this season. And so he's saying, look, you're going to go back to the States. We're going to be separated, the distance physically. You're going to have that thing again. We need to go to therapy so that that doesn't happen, which is absolutely the right thing to do. It's absolutely the fastest, most potentially effective way to fix the problem, 100%. So let's see what happens. Now, it would be many sessions that would probably need to occur. I mean, Angela's self-awareness she's far from developing insight into her behavior. And so, well, if you're curious as to what my prognosis or the timeline in my head for someone like Angela, if this is accurate, which we don't know, is the first step for someone like Angela is for her to feel comfortable just coming to therapy. And that would be perhaps the most important thing for the therapist to focus on. And that would supersede things like confronting Angela about her abusive behavior, because even if you hint at that, you could know as a therapist that that's going to alienate Angela and she'll never come back. As a therapist, you're supposed to be helpful. You're not supposed to do what you think other people want you to do. You're supposed to do what, in the long run, will actually help the situation. And what will help the situation is if she is no longer abusive, right? It will help both of them, mainly him. And so in order to get there, you have to play the game, if you will. And the first part of that game is to make Angela comfortable. And so that isn't to go along with the abuse, but it's not necessarily to target it directly. Then you develop a relationship with the Angela individual, and as a therapist, the Angela trusts you. You might have to meet individually with each person occasionally to reassure the victim that you're on the campaign. You might set some ground rules around no abuse, no physical abuse, this kind of thing. You can do that. It's complicated, but then once you get the Angela individual to like you and trust you, then you can start to question things, start to ask questions around their awareness of their behavior, hoping that they'll come to the conclusion themselves. If they don't, then you have to go after it a little bit. So that first phase could take one session or it could take 1 year. It kind of depends. Now, as a therapist, we're supposed to consider, is this the best treatment model for the situation? Because there's a possibility that in couple therapy, the victim will voice things, and the victimizer, the abusive person, will go home and the abuse will become times 10 because the victim is voicing their voice to the therapist. So as a therapist, we have to gauge the if it's indicated that couple therapy is the best overall approach, safe approach, really. It sometimes isn't, and it sometimes can be, especially if you start adding in other treatment modes. If, for example, Michael had his own individual therapist and there's couple therapy, then, it just kind of depends. What will happen sometimes at the recommendation, there's certain dogma in my field that you can't do couple therapy with abusive couples because of these risks that will happen. And yeah, it's possible, but that's looking at it very simplistically, because if a couple comes to me, if Angela and Michael comes to me and I'm like, ooh, this looks abusive to me, there's heavy hints of that. Maybe I meet alone with Michael and I'm like, whoa, yeah, this is abusive. This is an absolutely abusive cycle. It's physical only sometimes, but it is physical. But it's mostly economic abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, control abuse. And so I would determine, okay, well, we have to figure out what we're going to do here. Now, best case scenario, Angela would go into an intimate partner violence, domestic violence treatment program that targets her issue. So that would be my first recommendation. If I could get that to happen, then that's what I would do. Maybe we would have additional marital counseling, additional couple therapy, but at the very least, that would be the best thing that could happen. The secondary, a tier down there would be for Angela to enter individual therapy with a specialist that understood abusive behavior and how to work with that. If that didn't happen, which in all likelihood it wouldn't, then a step down from that would be that she just go to individual therapy, and that she might eventually get to a place where she could talk about her abusive behavior. That also is not usually likely in a situation like that. So because the Angela person won't want to do that for the reasons that we could imagine. A step down from that would be that maybe we engage in marital counseling, in couple therapy, hoping that we'll warm the Angela person up to these ideas so that they might be able to follow the recommendations, or I might be able to intervene. The reason why I'm laying all this out is because people will say, well, I'm supposed to terminate. I'm supposed to not even accept these kinds of clients, right? They come to me and it's unethical, which is not true, but people will say it's unethical to treat couples who have these kinds of issues because they believe simplistically that it will be going along with the abuse or might trigger abuse, which is possible, and therapists have to assess that. But let's say, given that scenario, that the Angela person is not likely to go to DV treatment, not likely to go to specialized individual therapy, not likely even to go to individual therapy at all, not likely to do anything. This is the one chance for us to have some inroads with her behavior to save the victim from further victimization. If I terminate and say, sorry, I terminate, I can't see you because I see abuse in your relationship, I recommend that, Angela, you engage in a domestic violence treatment program. What's the likelihood that anything is going to happen? Very, very slim. So for me to do that, for me to terminate with them, so there are pros and cons. And of course, I'm always consulting with lawyers and other ethics experts in this situation because it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, I do, just to make sure that I'm not biased or, that I'm asking all the right questions, that I'm covering all my bases. I'm also documenting all this. But if I terminate, then how is that helping the victim? How is that helping them? This might be the best thing that we can do for now. It's not ideal, but given the scenario, this might be the best thing available to us. I would have to monitor to make sure that the therapy isn't provoking the abusive person to abuse more, that kind of thing. But anyway, so now I think she's about to go home soon, maybe within a week or something. So that probably only allows one therapy session, which I don't think is going to even touch on what their issues are.
Oh, hell no. I don't need nobody to tell me how to handle my man.
You said we are close to getting the visa, but now you're going to go back to the States, so it's going to be a problem, the distance.
Not if you don't make it a problem. Because you screwed it up, not me.
How did he screw it up? He had an Instagram account. That's it. He had friends that were of various different genders online that he communicated with, that he never cheated with. She was actually cheating. So, yeah, of course.
I've not caused this problems in our marriage. Every time we have a problem, it's Michael telling me lies.
Because of you, I took down my Instagram to make you happy, and I mean also to save my marriage. But yours is still up.
Am I going to hear
But
about
you
this Instagram for the next 30 years?
But you can talk to men on social media. If you want to keep an eye on me, maybe I should start keeping an eye on you too as well.
Oh, you're just, that's petty. That's petty. You're just doing it because what you had to do.
Wow. It's obvious, the hypocrisy. But there's a chance that she actually believes what she's saying right now. There's a pretty good chance that, given her personality issues, her perceptions are so distorted that everything she's saying right now is totally rational.
No. The marriage counseling is a good idea because I feel Angela owes me some kind of apology about Billy. And also, she needs to understand she's so hypocrite.
I don't mind you keeping an eye on me, but this is why maybe we do need to go counsel and let you.
Interesting. So he wants an apology about Billy, the individual that Angela was cheating with online on Michael. And so it sounds like he doesn't feel safe to bring that up with Angela and feels like he needs to have a therapist there to help him to talk about that, which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And remember earlier I was talking about triangulation. Well, when we call a therapist in a situation like this, that is a triangulation, depending on your definition of triangulation. But triangulations can be functional, dysfunctional, or neutral. And as a therapist, we're always trying to be functional in that we're actually trying to help the clients to work out their issues, whether they stay together or not, instead of making the matters worse by having the anxiety just get sloshed around in the 3-point system. So a common scenario that I could imagine with this couple would be that they come into therapy and Angela is Angela, and the therapist immediately starts to have some upset feelings at Angela. And then the therapist tries to move really fast and maybe too fast and maybe even out of their own hostility because of their traumas or their own lack of awareness of what therapy really is. And they start to go after Angela. They start to, in their therapeutic language, try to get Angela to understand that she's the problem or that she has a problem. It wouldn't be hard to imagine that happening in therapy, right? And then the conflict has now switched from Angela and Michael to Angela and the therapist. And then Michael will somehow have to step in and defend Angela and also have a fight with the therapist, kind of, and just be like, hey, therapist, you're going too hard on Angela or something like that. And then now the conflict is between Michael and the therapist. And then eventually it resolves to Michael and Angela being in conflict again. So it's just transferring that anxiety and tension and conflict around the system instead of the therapist being differentiated and not going after Angela in an unhelpful way, but actually saying, okay, I have an impulse to go after Angela, but that's just me absorbing the tension and anxiety and the conflict of this family, of this two-person system, and I have to resist that urge and actually think higher than that and what's actually going to help overall.
Angela keeps saying screw things up, which is not fair on my end because she too have a fault, you know? All I'm asking from Angela is respect as a partner.
Olga?
Oh,
Madam, look at it.
that's nice. Michael, you told him to get the fancy one.
This
I'm
is the one.
beginning to think you like that I tore that sumbitch off. Oh, yeah. That better work more than one time tonight. You're going to pay for this damn thing.
Under other circumstances, that would just be kind of a funny little joke that I might not react to, but yikes. Especially when you think historically and culturally, you have this white woman who talks the way that she talks and I think has a political view that she has, going to a place that has been repeatedly colonized and harmed by white European Americans and Europeans historically, and abusing and demeaning and then demanding sex to make up for what she's paying for right now. I mean, am I? I mean,
You paying? I paid my due.
What the did you just say? You know, I'm not against going to counseling for Michael, but before our wedding in Nigeria, we tried this. And things didn't go well at all.
The happiness you want in this marriage is you get it from him. Angela, satisfy him sexually. Make him happy. When he comes back, the food is ready.
I forgot about this. Was that therapy? I thought that was, I guess it kind of was. I forget how I framed it. It certainly didn't look like therapy to me. And who knows what they edited out. But yeah, we have an individual basically telling Angela that she needs to be subservient and cook him food and have sex with him whenever. I mean, if that's what Michael is asking for, he's like hoping that's what they get, then I can't imagine that being very helpful.
Counseling for Michael, but before our wedding in Nigeria, we tried this. And things didn't go well at all.
The happiness you want in this marriage is you get it from him. Angela, satisfy him sexually. Make him happy. When he comes back, the food is ready. The bed is laid properly. Total submission. Total submission.
Yeah. Now, I will say that some therapists in the States will not say this directly, but they'll basically be conducting therapy from that premise. That will happen, absolutely. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but not this overt. But yeah, it's not going to be very helpful. Yeah, let me provide therapy for you. All right, so you're the woman. You do everything he says. Total submission. Have sex, food, clean. That's all you're worth. That's all you do. Do you understand? You know, you can pay me on your way out. And husband, you're always right. You have total. I mean, like, that's, yeah. I don't know what sort of service this is. It could be a religious service or a cultural service or a mentor service, but I can't imagine this is a clinical service.
The man is the head of the household, and they're going to side with the Nigerian man.
Nice.
It looks good.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
I already know the outcome. Michael's gonna get treated like the king, and I'm gonna get treated like the damn poper. If I go ahead and go to counseling, I'm not gonna be told what to do.
I just want to clarify something. Next time, you won't rip my car off.
Michael, say how you get your way, now you're back to an ass.
Okay. Just kidding. It's okay.
Yikes. So he moves in to kiss her and says, next time, and he's saying it with a smile, okay, next time, when you're upset, don't tear apart my car. And then she says something to put him in his place, to say, how dare you talk back to me? You're an a-hole right now. It's like, ugh. All right, well, we're coming up on the holiday season, right? If you want some merch or a cameo for someone, you can get that by clicking the links below or going to Spring or to Cameo. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.